Assalamu alaikum. I guess I have the misfortune of speaking today. Anybody who knows me knows I have stage fright, so please bear with me. Inshallah. We'll begin with the sacred words. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. I seek refuge, or we seek refuge in Allah from the rejected shaitan. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. In the name, with the name, by the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. And Allah wa malaikatuhu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu tasleem.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. All praise is due to Allah, the majestic, the sublime, and I thank Allah for His guidance and His blessing upon humanity, the seal of prophethood, and the nectar of revelation, Muhammad. Allahumma
salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
And I bear witness that there is no God but the God, who is Al-Ilah, which is correctly pronounced as Allah. That's the deity, that's the God, the one most deserving of being loved. We probably need to say that a little bit more in Islam, because sometimes when we look at Islam, we don't look at it as a loving religion. That's one of Allah's names. That's what Allah means when you really pry into the definition. The one most deserving to be loved. We need to hear that word love a little bit more in Islam. He is the reality, the one who transcends time and space, who has no beginning nor an end. This reality that we call the God, or the reality, or the absolute, has created the heavens and the earth, and all the inhabitants within. The God who created man and formed him into a walking being with a spirit and consciousness, from whom the rest of us descend. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
So today, I got to kind of freestyle it, touch on some points I was going to touch on, but inshallah, we're going to get through this. So I'm going to focus more on the word ummah, and what ummah or community means to us as Muslims, generally speaking, but particularly to us here in Atlanta. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
All right. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the glorious Quran in Surah 21, ayat 92, verily, this brotherhood, or this ummah of yours, is a single brotherhood, and I am your Lord and cherisher, therefore serve me and no other. Find that in two places, Surah 21, ayat 92, and Surah 23, ayat 52. Now, I'm an avid lover of student. I'm an avid student and lover of history. And I hold dear the philosophy that if you don't know your past, you will not understand where you're at and where you're headed. So I'm going to present some little known facts that, inshallah, you'll understand where I'm going to try to go with this. Does anybody in here know the significance of August 1816 in world history? Anybody? August 1816. Nobody? Going once, going twice, 3 times. All right. It's on Brother Djibril. So inshallah. On August 1816, 700 former POWs. I don't like to use the word slave. I like to call our ancestors what they were. They were POWs. They were prisoners of war. When you say slave, that gives people a certain context or construct that they put around us. You know, that whole Sambo, Coon, Jigaboo type thing. That's not what they were. They were prisoners of war. We need to start calling them that. So, there were 700 former POWs from the American South who had escaped to the British during the War of 1812 here in the United States. And they were recruited to serve as a corps of colonial Marines. I hear some people saying, so, what does that mean? Why is that significant? Those same 700 former POWs were settled in Trinidad after serving 14 months at the Royal Naval Dockyard in Bermuda. They rejected British orders to transfer to Britain's West Indian regiments. The British Navy refused to accept responsibility for these POWs, and with reluctance, the British government finally conceded to offer these POWs from Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and Maryland settlement in Trinidad. This is 1816. These ex-Marines were then organized by British authorities into certain villages in Trinidad according to their military companies. These POWs acted as an Ummah. They remained committed to their freedom and achieved their goal. Understand, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, and Maryland. These POWs from the American South escaped from bondage, made their way over to British lines, made it first to Bermuda, and then eventually to Trinidad. Why is that important to us? Our blood flows in your blood. Your blood flows in our blood. We are one ummah. We're one family. Allah says you are a single brotherhood. Does anybody know which direction the Underground Railroad led former POWs from the South to freedom? Anybody? That would seem obvious. Huh? Okay. I got one taker from North. Anybody else? All right, so here we go. The Underground Railroad had various directions. If you were a POW in Savannah or Charleston, your corridor for escape was primarily via water, and then you were conducted to such places as New York or Boston. And if you were in places such as Atlanta, Milledgeville, or Macon, you were conducted to Columbia, South Carolina, then to Raleigh, North Carolina, then to places such as Annapolis, Maryland. If you were in Tallahassee, you could be conducted to the Florida Everglades, where you would be linked up with the Seminole community, or you could be conducted to Cuba.
Go sit down.
All right? If you were a POW in Nashville, Tennessee, Little Rock, Arkansas, Montgomery, Alabama, you could be conducted to the north, or you could be reconducted again back to Cuba. Or you could opt for another island. If you were in Houston, Galveston, Austin, or San Antonio, you could be conducted to Mexico. The blood of our predecessors flows everywhere, from people ranging from Brazil to Canada, from Antigua to Monroeville, Liberia, to Sandersville and Cordele, Georgia. We are one ummah. One ummah. So what does this have to do with ummah and commitment for us in 21st century Atlanta, Georgia? The Underground Railroad, contrary to popular belief, was not started by Harriet Tubman. She was just one of many conductors. And she happened to be the most famous member of the Underground Railroad. But that effort had started long before she came in the picture. The Underground Railroad, in truth, had been around for over 100 years prior to Harriet Tubman. And the Underground Railroad had many corridors to freedom. And no one conductor knew all the routes in case they were captured. That's just the logic. So if I'm captured and I know all the routes, I could be tortured into giving up all those routes. So it was intentionally set up that no one conductor knew where the POWs in Montgomery were going to go, where the POWs in Nashville, Tennessee were going to go. It was intentionally set up that way. So they operated as cells in order to protect their overall mission. And this Underground Railroad again lasted for over 100 years, and it served to liberate many POWs towards freedom with the hopes of a better life ahead. Now, in order to make that happen, you have to have a certain level of commitment. There's that word again. Commitment. Acting as a ummah. understanding your role within the Ummah. So I asked Atlanta, Georgia, what is our aim and our goal as an Ummah? Ummah can have various meanings. It can refer to humanity or the human community in a very religious sense. It can also refer to ethical, linguistic, or religious bodies of people who are objects of the divine plan of salvation. So I'm going to jump forward. Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the 16th chapter of the Quran, Surah An-Nahl, the B, ayat 36. He says something very wondrous. He says, and indeed we raised up a messenger in every community, Ummah, proclaiming, O people, worship Allah and keep away from the oppressors. It's 2 points. O people, worship Allah and keep away from the oppressors. Then some among them were those whom Allah guided, and there were others among them for whom the misguidance proved appropriate. So travel through the land and see what was the end of those who lied the truth. That's powerful. It's simple. It's so simple it's coffee. Worship Allah and stay away from the oppressors. How hard is it for us to do that? In the course of our day, how hard is it for us just to think about God, say 3 times in a day? We ain't even talking about 5 prayers. Just think about God 3 times in a day. How hard is it to stay away from the oppressors? And when I say oppressors, the oppressor can be anything from fashion. It can be the nice cars. Anything materialistic. When it gets to the point that it consumes you and that defines who you are, that is oppressive. Because that's not who you really are. Because when you die and they put us in the box, they can put all the Gucci and the Louis and all this all they want. But at the end of the day, in 100 years, it's gonna be bones in that coffin. So I'm going to go for it again. The same surah, Surah 16. Now, this is the 16th chapter, again, of the Quran. And again, the name of the surah is the B. The B is only mentioned once in this surah. And in that one verse where the B is mentioned, that one verse is made up of 16 words in Arabic. Why is that important? Because those 16 words in Arabic, they're made up of 16 different letters. Why is that important? Well, there's something odd about bees. A female bee has 16 pairs of chromosomes, while male bees have 16 chromosomes. Males do not have a father. They are the unfertilized eggs of their mother. Similar in the way to Jesus. Okay? The Quranic Arabic actually differentiates the difference between the male and female bee. Now, nobody understood the difference between the male and female bee until the last century. Here it is, the Quran is talking about this 1400 years ago. But follow me on this. In the Quran's actually differentiating between the male and the female, it designates that the worker bees who actually gather the pollen and make the honey, it's the female bee. Allah says in the same surah, and your Lord revealed to the bees, build your hives in mountains, trees, and in what they build. Then eat, he uses a female tense in this verse, then eat for the females from every fruit, and follow, again he uses a female tense, those routes suggested by your Lord, which lead to these fruits, leading other bees to their source, for your Lord is made smooth and easy. There comes forth from within a honey or drink of diverse colors. In it is a healing for man. Therein is indeed a sign for those who contemplate. So bees operate as one ummah. Everybody within the hive knows their place. Everybody knows their role. One ummah who are committed to their survival. I'm going to give you a story. There was a man who survived for 20 years on a deserted island. And when he was found, his rescuers were astonished to see he had created a lot of things. Left on his own, he had created a self-sufficient habitat with everything he needed to live comfortably. As the rescuers toured the island, they noticed all the impressive structures he made. In one corner of the island was a grand building overlooking the lagoon, which he called home. And across the lagoon was a tall white building with a dome that reached up to the sky. So the rescuers asked, "What's that tall building?" Castaway said, "That's my mosque." As they neared the other end of the island, they saw another tall white building with a dome that reached up to the sky. The rescuers paused and said, "That looks familiar. What's that building?" The castaway responded, "Oh, that's the mosque I used to belong to." Did that just blow over you? Did it take a second?
Yeah, go ahead, do that
He's the only person on the island.
again. SubhanAllah.
And he built a mosque he couldn't get along with himself at.
Okay.
So he went and built him another mosque, thinking that was going to make it better. He's still dealing with the same person. All right, now I got to laugh. All right. I might try to stand up. I'll keep my day job. So the moral of the story was that the castaway couldn't get along with himself despite all the beautiful buildings he created. But there's a certain degree of truth in that story, and it captures the spirit of the world we live in. Because we live in a world of individualism, especially here in the West. We build them up and we quit them just as fast. Our culture, it doesn't encourage commitment. It doesn't encourage commitment in marriage. It doesn't encourage commitment in the workplace. It doesn't encourage commitment to a mosque, to a church, or any other religious institution. The world we live in is all about me. Me, 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 me. And unfortunately, we live in a world where the only thing most people are willing to commit to is having things their way. My way or the highway.